Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and in this video I'm actually going to be reviewing the Jeffrey Dahmer story that's currently on Netflix starring Evan Peters. Now, before I do start this video, I just have to pre-warn you all that there will be spoilers in this video. I don't really do reviews on movies or TV shows without spoilers, so if you haven't watched this show yet, or you're only like around halfway through and you don't like spoilers, then I would advise that you stop watching this video and come back after you've watched it. Okay, so Jeffrey Dahmer, a disgusting, vile monster who killed 17 boys and men between 1978 and 1991. Now, this TV show follows the whole Jeffrey Dahmer journey, all the way from his childhood to the murders to when he ends up in prison. Now, this show pulls no punches. It's creepy, it's graphic, and as you watch each episode, you think you've already seen the worst until you get to the next episode, and then you learn of another horrific, unthinkable thing that Jeffrey Dahmer did. Now, I don't normally watch many TV shows on Netflix, only now and again, but after I saw the trailer for this and noticed that actor Evan Peters was in this, I just had to watch. I was sort of familiar with the Jeffrey Dahmer case, but I wasn't really clued up on everything, so I was kind of half blind going into this show. Now, first things first, I just have to say Evan Peters' portrayal of Jeffrey is some of the most amazing acting that I've seen in a very long time. He was chilling from start to finish. There were even moments in this TV show where you had to keep reminding yourself of what this guy has done, because there are moments where you kind of forget and you may even like all of a sudden start to feel sorry, you know, the way Jeff gets treated, especially like in his childhood episodes, but then you end up remembering that this guy ended up killing so many innocent people, and one of his victims was as young as 14, called Conrack. Now, this is one of the many moments that made my blood boil, because there were a few separate incidents where if the police had just listened or searched his car on that evening when they stopped him, so many victims could have been saved. So sticking with the 14-year-old guy now, and this is the one of the many horrific moments in the show where Jeff drugs the 14-year-old, drills a hole in his head and pours bleach inside into his brain, trying to turn him into some sort of human zombie. Now, Conrack, he does manage to escape while Jeffrey is out buying more alcohol, but Conrack, he only makes it to just outside of the building of the apartment, and this is where neighbor Glenda Cleveland and her daughters, they end up seeing the state of this 14-year-old boy. Now, when the police are called, Jeffrey returns back from the shops just at that very moment, and Jeffrey, he ends up telling the cops that it's basically his boyfriend, and goes on to say that his boyfriend is 18 or 19, one of those ages anyway. Glenda knows that something isn't quite right, and she ends up pleading with the cops to do something, but the cops return Conrack to Jeffrey's apartment and they basically leave him there. And of course, Jeffrey ends up killing this 14-year-old boy, which is just horrific. This is just the tip of the iceberg in this show, but this is definitely one of the moments that made my blood boil. Now, as far as gore scenes, I didn't find this show too gory, and to be honest, it's not really about the gore in this TV show. This is about telling this horrific true story. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some real shocking moments where at one point we see a dismembered head that Jeff ends up hiding in his nan's memory box, and you see limbs, and you see limbs in tubs of acid with all the flesh melted off, but it's only brief. The show, it doesn't concentrate too much on the gore, but I think this is what works, because you do see bits and pieces, but then it's also left to your imagination, which I think works better. What we have to remember here is that these were all real people, real victims, and the depths that Jeffrey Dahmer went to is just diabolical. In my opinion, everyone in this show played their parts amazingly. This includes Jeffrey's parents, his stepmom, and his nan, and I really felt sorry for his nan having to go through through so much at that time of their life. That should never happen. I did find Jeffrey's dad quite interesting. I mean, we learned in Jeff's childhood that him and his dad, they would dissect roadkill, which is odd in my world, but hey ho. And I believe that this could have been the moment when Jeff discovered his sick fascination that then snowballed as he got older. I mean, by the time you get to finish watching all 10 episodes, there is really no explanation to why Jeff Dahmer was the way he was. I mean, there's loads of insinuations and possibilities that might have been triggered, like maybe his mum popping all those pills right, left and center while he was, you know, in her stomach. You know, he hadn't been born at this stage. Or it could have been down to the divorce of his parents, you know, but to be honest, guys, millions of us have been through similar things and we never went off killing and eating people. I don't think there is an explanation. Maybe Jeff was just born like that. Who knows? I mean, in the final episode after Jeffrey is killed by another inmate, they had the opportunity to study his brain, but after a court battle between the parents, it was agreed that Jeffrey's brain was to be destroyed, and I don't know if they could have learnt anything from his brain, who knows, but to me, it's just, I find it quite interesting. One of the murders that really hit me in the heart was the murder of Tony Hughes, which happens in episode 6, I believe. Now, Tony Hughes was deaf when he was a baby, but we actually followed his life in episode 6 and we learned that he never let his deafness get in the way of anything. Now, of course, Tony ends up meeting Jeffrey at a nightclub and Jeffrey, he ends up worming his way into Tony's life, gaining Tony's trust until inevitably Jeffrey ends up killing him. And I think what really got to a lot of the viewers with this particular kill is the fact that Tony, he wouldn't have been able to scream for help, which it just sends shivers down my spine thinking about it. Jeffrey Dahmer does eventually get caught after one of his near victims gets away and calls the police. The police then make the grim discovery at Jeffrey's apartment, and we do get to see the trial afterwards and some of the victim statements, and I found it very, very powerful. And I do feel that this show respectfully showed how it impacted the families, especially in the later episodes. As I said earlier, Jeffrey was brutally murdered in prison by another inmate, and I do not have any sympathy for Jeffrey at all. I mean, I'm surprised it didn't happen a lot sooner in jail. I don't condone violence at all, but I kind of feel this was justice well deserved. Something else that showed, you know, in the whole 10 episodes was the racial discrimination that was happening, and I really felt for Glenda Cleveland, who knew something terrible was going on in Jeffrey's apartment for ages. She would smell the stench of dead bodies coming through the air vent into her apartment, which is just disgusting. But none of the cops, they never listened to her. And do you know what? There's even like a real phone call recording that is played at the end of episode 2 where Glenda is pleading with the cops to come back and check on the 14-year-old boy. And they literally just tell her, you know, it's fine, it's all sorted now, it was a lover's quarrel. It just made my blood boil, and there's quite a lot of this that happens throughout the whole 10 episodes. I didn't realize just how much of a monster Jeffrey Dahmer was. Like I said, I wasn't too familiar with the case, but this TV show tells you the full story, and it is chilling and shocking to its core. For me, it's one of the best real-life TV dramas that I've seen in a very long time. Now, I wouldn't say that this TV show scared me, but it did creep me out, thinking that there are other people out there in the world just like Jeffrey Dahmer, and that thought alone is terrifying. I am personally gonna give this show a 10 out of 10, and a lot of that is down to Evan Peters' acting and portrayal of Jeffrey. How on earth Evan Peters managed to hold it all together during these 10 horrific episodes and these horrifying scenes is beyond me, but it just shows just how, you know, good an actor he really is. So guys, have you seen the Jeffrey Dahmer story on Netflix yet? If you have, then let me know all of your thoughts in the comments box below. The reaction that I've been seeing online is mainly positive reviews and that the show pretty much outdid itself, but I would be really interested to hear all of your thoughts. Okay then guys, well thank you all for stopping by and watching this video. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, stay safe out there, and I'll see you all again very, very soon.